All right, disruptors. Let's be honest for a moment. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a mindset problem about money. Because if wealth was just about numbers, more people would be wealthy. But what if the real gap isn't income, it's alignment? Today's conversation is going to challenge how you think about success, money, and the decisions that quietly shape your future.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alyssa White as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Mindset Mastery Moments, the podcast where we disrupt outdated thinking, reclaim personal agency, and activate the mindset required to lead, live, and build a life of impact. I'm your host, of course, Dr. Lisa White, the number one mindset disruptor. And today we're stepping into a conversation most people avoid. So I'm very much going to have it, right? Not because it's complicated, but because it requires responsibility and ownership. We're walking and we're talking together with a professional expert here with us, and we're going to be discussing wealth, decision making, and the mindset that separates stability from legacy. My guest today is not your typical financial advisor. Mr. Richard McWhorter is a managing partner and private wealth advisor at SRM Private Wealth, with over 30 years of experience working with the ultra-high net worth individuals, including professional athletes, artists, and multi-generational families. But here's what makes him different. He doesn't just manage money. He helps people think differently about money. Hello, he's on Mindset Mastery Moments. From the boardrooms, backstage, to the locker rooms, and to legacy planning. Richard brings a creative, unconventional approach to wealth strategy. Listen, I'm here for it. How much time does he have? Let's find out. He blends financial expertise with real-world insight across entertainment, sports, and business. He's been recognized by Forbes, Financial Times, Barron's, and featured in major outlets like Business Insider and U.S. News and World Report. And beyond the numbers, his work bridges wealth and philanthropy. That is what I am all about. Helping clients align their financial decisions with impact and purpose. I could not have met a better financial advisor today. Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. We're here to glean from your wealth and your wisdom and real life experience. But in your own words, you've done some amazing things. Just tell us who you are, what you do, why you do it, and now I'm saying who you do it with.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. You know, when you say 30 years, it makes me kind of look back on that and shake my head.
And we're like, aren't you like 40?
Not so much. But maybe mentally. But, you know, we've been doing this for, I got into this business when I was 8 years old. So it's been, actually, started off as an intern, receptionist, secretary, and then became a financial advisor in 92.
Wow.
So what is that? 34 years ago, if I can do the math correctly. You know, we started kind of building our practice around what clients were asked for. And we got very fortunate and met some people in different industries and learned a lot from them and how they did things and listened a lot and read a lot. Here we are. You know, I don't know where the magic was, but I'm very grateful for where we ended up so far.
Yes, you've had an amazing journey. I'm pretty sure so many things you could tell us. So let's start here. What are people getting completely wrong about money right now? 2026, where are we at?
Well, you know, a lot of the financial advisement that we start with starts off at the spending level. The spending
Mhm.
level is one of the most detrimental parts of building wealth. I can put in there under the spending taxes and other items that come up, but, you know, inflation and things like that. But the reality is that it's our spending. We have a certain amount of income, we have a certain amount of standard of living we want to live, and that spending kind of goes along with that. And sometimes those two things don't match up all that well. So I find that I have to spend a lot of time on the spending part to begin my
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Man, I've been looking like money versus emotional decision making, financial stress, identity misalignment. Why are high earners still feeling stuck in the illusion of I'll figure it out later? Because some so what I've been hearing is it's not that people don't have access, it's that they're operating from a mindset that keeps them reactive instead of intentional. So it's like I've been there. I know I've been there for a long time. Getting my shift together, right? But it's like, yeah, I'll figure out what my budget is. Right now, it's just hard. I'm making ends meet, but I'll figure it out later. Yeah, I'll start saving later. Oh, I'll do retirement later. It's always, I'll figure it out later. It's an illusion. What's going on with that? And how do we break through that sort of mindset?
Oh, it's taking time. A lot of this has to do with what's more fun, building a budget and living within that budget, or going out and having a good time and
Pretending.
spending money and dealing with it at a later. So for me, like a lot of things is, we're making these decisions. When you were speaking, I was thinking like one thing I have to keep myself from, bored eating, for example. So if I'm sitting
Mm,
at home and we have 6 children, so when they're not home and there's no chaos going on, I board eat, which is much easier than holding back and or go. What about if I went on the treadmill instead when I was bored? All those other things. So the easy road for spending is I'm going to go out and spend, and I'll deal with it tomorrow, right? Or I'll pay that, put
yes.
that on a credit card, and I'll pay a little bit at a time. But then things start to add up and add up and add up,
Mhm.
and you're not buying something on a credit card, paying it back, start again. There might be I paid a little bit of it back, so I got some room on my credit card. I'm going to buy that again, and that I think that doesn't deal just with you know high net worth, but it deals with just about everybody, right? On whatever that respective level of income is. It's
Mhm.
the same idea that we're dealing with.
Yeah. So, how much do you think financial success is actually behavior versus technical?
Wow, wow. I think that most listen, when we deal with athletes, when we deal with people of new wealth, one of the big things that you have to start off with is when you get a contract or you inherit some money or whatever it may be. The first is what's my source? What's my net after all of the expenses? In
Mhm.
sports and music, I also have agents and managers and business managers and lawyers. And I've got all these other people that I have to pay, right? They're doing a job for me and I have to pay them. So I've got taxes. I might have representation or advisors that I have to pay for some of that, however, to get that money. So then now I have my net amount. What's the net
Yeah.
that I get to invest or spend? And then how am I going to spend that? How am I going to do that? So
Yeah.
when you go through and you break it all down from the time that money comes in, then I got to pay my taxes. I got to put money aside for rent and some food and all the stuff that just the day to day stuff. But then I want to go buy those pair of shoes, or I want to go buy that outfit, or I want to go to that club, or whatever it may be. That's where it starts to get gray, right? I've got my essentials, taxes and my utilities and my rent.
Yeah.
And I've got all these other things. And so that's my standard of living. That's how I enjoy the work to do or the reward of doing that work on the financial side. And so it's really kind of breaking it down in that way
Mhm.
as the advisor or one of the advisors for a lot of these people, we have to try and understand the spending behaviors. I calculate what it is after taxes. I calculate what the utilities are and the rent is, and then here's what you got. Here's where we can go.
Real
And the
numbers.
last point I'll make is that remember when you have, especially people that have done well financially,
Mhm.
there's all the choices in the world for those people, right? Do I go out and buy the Porsche? Do I go buy the Range Rover? Whatever ubiquitous car
Lamborghini.
that's out there. But I have all the choices in the world to do whatever I want. Now the question is that do I want to why am I making the decisions? Why am I spending the money I'm spending? How long is my money going to last? Those things are secondary. That's a whole nother conversation. But that
Mm.
instant gratification, that adrenaline rush when I get to go buy something that I've desired, right? That's something big. That's very powerful.
Yes, it is. Man, what patterns do you see across and I guess it's sounds a little bit biased, but you work a lot with these people and let's face it that we as a society, we look up to them as the ultra rich, ultra wealthy, and the pinnacle of success. What patterns do you see across athletes and entertainers and high performers that would I would say is different from someone who might have been someone who earned it by, working, building a blue collar company and building massive wealth that way. What are those differences and patterns that you see?
Nothing. I see very little differences. And the reason
Really?
is that we're at the baseline of everything, we're human beings, right? We're all
Right.
making decisions for whatever those decisions are, right? We can question, because someone's in the news or they're on television or movies or on the screen when you're watching them play a game, that's them on there, right? Or in concert. I forgot my music lines, but in concert,
Yeah.
right? But then when you get to know them as human beings, that's a whole different part. And that's the part that we focus on, right? I can be,
Mhm.
I have a band from the 80s that I'm once again older from the 80s
Me
that
too.
I've been
I'm
listening
right there with you.
listening
Those are the
to.
only bands I know.
So, and when I go see them in concert, I saw them 9 times last year. When I go see
Well,
them in concert, I'm a fanboy from when I was 16, 17 years old.
mm,
When he and I talk on the phone or we get together for lunch or dinner, it's a completely different conversation.
right.
So, we have to understand that the people that we hear about, we see, that we admire, that we want to be like, whatever that looks like, underlying it all is the same human beings, in my opinion.
And I second that
Thank you.
because that's why I tell people I don't get what do you call it? I don't get I've walked into a lot of celebrities and stuff like that. I'm like, I didn't even know who they were.
And that happens, right?
That's my person. I was at a McDonald's with a famous rapper and I came back to the campus with my coffee and they're like, "Oh, miss, you got coffee? Like, really? Like I didn't know you go to McDonald's, but you did how were you just over there, like, right this moment?" I said, "Yeah, that's where I'm coming from." They're like and I forgot which rapper was in the McDonald's. And I was like, "Oh, that's what that fuss was about." I was trying to figure out. They're like, "Oh, actor, you literally saw blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "I don't know who any of these rappers are." This is one of the really big ones that is the young people are excited about. I'm like, "I'm sorry." They're like, "Yo, you were right there. You could have had, like, an autograph, a photo." I'm like, "I don't know him," but
Right.
that's my thing. Even if I did, I'd be like, "Hello, sir. It's so nice to meet you. How's your day going? What's your favorite thing to get off here?" Because for me, it stops somewhere around the french fries. But it would be something like that, and it's not because I think I'm that big. I'm just not I just feel like we're all humans,
Mm,
and I respect what each of us do and what we've accomplished in the world and how we're impacting. But to be like, oh, like treat you like you're not human doesn't work for me. Nothing wrong with it. I don't judge people, but like you said, and when they're on the phone with you, you're in charge. They don't have a clue what they're talking about.
that's right.
You're the
Right,
boss.
and they're in my world now, right? When I go see them in concert, I see them on the court or whatever it may be. I'm in their world. When they're in,
Right.
it's a whole different being. They're hiring me. They're bringing me in. They're having these conversations because they need that advisement. Not necessarily that I'm the only advisor by far, right? They could be talking to
Right.
their agents or their manager or their lawyer as well.
You're
And
just
so,
one in the
right. So,
pod.
so ultimately, it's them coming in and having those conversations in regards to these things that I do more than or probably do better than what they would do on their own potentially, right?
Yes.
So now if we get on stage and then they give me an instrument, I'm screwed. I'm done. I couldn't play an instrument if you paid me.
You've
I
had you
tried.
booing us out to stay. Oh my goodness. So what do you think separates those who build wealth versus those who just earn? Because there is a difference
Hmm.
and there's a mindset behind it. And of course, that's been my goal to be a wealth builder and not just an earner. Because, and I'm saying that in regards because you could be earning six figures, you could even be at, almost making $1 million a year. You could still have an earner's mindset versus a wealth builder mindset, and that could determine outcomes
Yeah, 100%.
differently.
And like we started off with, the first thing is we're looking at, the spending behavior, right? Checking that out, right? And
Mhm.
then secondarily to that is that how am I for that money that I have left that I can put away and invest or save or whatever that like, how am I investing? How am I saving? So
Mhm.
for me, right, with athletes and musicians are different for me, right? And they're different in one respect is they have a team of people around them normally, not all, but a lot. And then it depends on the success of that team.
Mhm.
I look at people like LeBron, right? LeBron seems to have a one team around him. But then
Mhm.
why is there, and I don't know if how accurate these numbers are, but back to early 2000s, mid 2000s, 2007, somewhere in there, there was an article that came out of Sports Illustrated and said that 78% of athletes are in financial distress or go bankrupt in 2 to 3 years after retirement or something to that effect.
And that was what mind blowing to me, yeah.
Right. And once again, I looked into those numbers. I don't have enough how, what they use for that. So I don't want to use that as the Bible. But what I would say to you is that I know several players that have been in financial distress or in financial distress that have made,
Mhm.
I'm trying to think in my head, 8 figures, mid 8 figures during their career. So then how do they end up there? And when you try and dissect the decisions that were made, a lot of it has to do with advisement. Because remember, a lot of people are really good and have done amazing things in what they've
Mhm.
done and have built the ability to go through high school, college, and then get into the pros. And then not only get into pros that has an average lifespan of between 2 and 4 years, but then play 13,
Right,
14, 15 years. That's an amazing career in the
right.
NBA. And NFL is the same way, right? I think it's a little bit shorter NFL career, the average career. But
Mhm.
the reality is that when you're, when you're not paying attention, when you have advisors around you that are not making decisions, in making decisions that work out. I'm trying to be as politically correct here as possible, but the reality is that just bad decisions are made. And
Yeah.
so, and then there could be a spending issue, right? Maybe it's not the advisors at all, but it was just a spending issue. And I had to go buy the $10 million home with my $20 million paycheck, right? And I had to buy that, but I didn't figure in taxes, which took it from 20
Mm,
million down to 13 million. So I just spent $10 million home and I don't even have the money to pay the property taxes on this thing. Right.
I
So
see.
it's those types of decisions that are made that, and by the way, look at lottery winners. Lottery winners are known for going bankrupt. How is that?
Yes.
When I look at it, you're like, how is that possible?
Do they not get financial advisors, do you think?
They might get financial advice, and I would imagine the most do, but it's the decisions that their advisors make as well as what they make in investing that
Mm,
money. Because the other thing is that, at least in my experience, is that a lot of people that get money all of a sudden become the most popular person in the neighborhood, get most popular person in my family, are expected to be that person. And
mhm.
secondarily to that is a lot of people within that get money. This is not just sports and music. This is lottery winners. This is inherited wealth. All of a sudden, all these people are coming about. And hey, by the way, I've got an idea. Or hey, I need a little bit of a loan over here with a company that started, and can you hook me up? And if you don't give it to them, are you going to be that guy that's like, oh, now that you got all
Flip
this
the
money, you're going to
switch.
be that guy, right?
The rich and switch guy.
You can't help a guy out, but I would, we've been friends since we were kids, or whatever that. I've heard so many of these stories over the years,
Yes.
and so for me, there's so many different reasons that people end up in that spot. And it has to
Uh-huh.
take a very, very particular person to be able to handle that amount of money. And by the way, in their 20s, an athlete, by the way,
Come
some
on,
musicians get it
yes.
like that. A lot of musicians get it like that, but athletes do particularly, right? They're in their 20s, right? And now they're between 20 and 30, they're getting hopefully they have a 10-year career, you know, 15-year career. But for a lot of these guys, they're 23, 24 years old and they got a ton of money. Now what?
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
So, and the
Yeah.
last point I'm going to make, and I know I've been talking a lot about this, but it's very important.
No.
Okay.
This is good.
You tell me when to stop. But the reality is that, and as this is something that we have to deal with quite a bit, is that there is a wall that is put up by a lot of people during this period of time, because the one question that comes up is that, why are you my new friend? If we're
Mhm.
dating, why do you want to date me? Because of me,
Exactly.
because of my money, because of my access, all these other things. So now things that, like for me, I didn't have to think about, right? I didn't have to have that distrust. Now
Yes.
these guys and women are having to have this distrust about why these people are in my life, and am I the person? Do they really love me? Do they really want to be around me, or do they want to have
Be
everything
around my
else that I
money.
bring to the table? You know?
And then some of them are like, "You know what? Forget it. So what? I'm having a good time."
Yes. Yes, yes.
Just like you started off, is it easier to get to when you have free time to sit down, relax, eat your favorite snack, or get on the treadmill?
You
Snack
know,
and couch is gonna win every time, except that you when I say win every time, except that you develop a willpower to say, "You know what? Today I'm sitting on the couch, but I'm not gonna do that again tomorrow."
mm,
And that's, you have to give and take to bring that harmonious result in your life. So,
no, listen, all these, as I said, there's so many different reasons, and I've heard so many different stories and some wonderful stories, right? The unfortunate side is most of the stories heard are not on the wonderful side. I do
you never
several
do
of them.
because you're solving problems. They're not bringing good stories to you. Nobody with
I
a good
get brought
story
in on the
comes
other guys,
to Richard.
the guys that are trying to save it. So I'm normally the fixer guy that comes in afterwards to try and help the situation.
Salvage, yeah, whatever. I mean, I really, again, I'm listening and I'm hearing that mindset behind all of it is it's not about the money. It's about who you believe you are allowed really to become and understanding that when that wealth or money is entrusted in your hands and it doesn't, I tell people, if you're not stewarding $1,000, having 10,000, having 100,000 does not help. You're just gonna have more, and that's why lot of people win the lottery and there's end up broke in a very short space of time.
That's
This
right.
is why, very supposedly successful artists and athletes can end up that space because they had a plan for attaining the level of success. They had a focus and a drive on attaining that success, but they didn't have a plan, a purposeful plan for the stewardship of the financial gain that comes with that level of
Right.
accomplishment, right? And so I love you talk about purpose, philanthropy, and legacy. You've worked so closely with philanthropy. How should people think about giving an impact,
Yeah.
whether they are made it with the money or they're still working on building their, wealth?
I look at philanthropy differently because, a lot of the people that we deal with, there's some people that want to be involved in the philanthropy. There's people that use their money to be seen within the philanthropy. There's some people that don't care, right? And they just want to give some money and they get a tax break. So it really depends on the individuals. And,
Mm,
each one of those individuals has different reasonings on why they're giving the money. You know,
mhm.
we dealt with a lot of celebrity out here in Beverly Hills. Celebrity Central, I guess, but we dealt with a lot of celebrities that we were introduced to put together or help them put together events to raise money. And I've done that in music and then fashion and then some actors. But the reason that I bring that up is because the draw was not the charity. The draw was meeting the person that was famous, right?
Mm.
So, once again, each individual, I don't care how much wealth they have, has a purpose in giving that money. And by the way, some people are wonderful, want to be involved wonderfully, right? They want to get involved. They go to events, they help out, they whatever.
Yeah.
The other two are more frequent for me. The other two, being
Uh-huh.
seen in the right situation and or doing it for a tax break, those are the two big ones from my side. So not putting down anybody. Everybody has a reason behind it, right?
Yeah. And we're not saying bad or indifferent. We're
No,
just saying that's the reason.
that's the
And
reality.
it's the truth because I mean, I've approached foundations and things and then I've heard people who've gone to these huge foundations and gotten and they're like, "No, it wasn't that hard at all." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I think they'd be more stringent and more vigilant over blah blah blah." But like, nope, wasn't that hard at all. It's literally who knows who and who's in the room.
That's exactly right.
And they'll
Exactly
sign those checks and it's done. And they don't want to be a part. They don't want to know. Nope. That's not what they're into.
right. But
They
they'll
just
open their
want to make
checkbooks. Don't get
sure
me wrong.
yeah.
I went to I'll tell you a quick story. I went to a well-known band member, and he was putting on an event out here in Los Angeles. It was a beautiful event.
Mhm.
But one of the things that they did is that they would walk around the crowd and they would ask for donations during the event. And there was a concert going on, and people would around with these sliders that you can slide your credit card. And what
Mhm.
I noticed is that the guys that were trying to impress girls, or the girls that were trying to impress guys, or whatever other way that mix worked,
Worked, yeah.
right?
The
A
combination.
lot of other combinations there. I don't want to leave anybody out, but
No, everybody. All the letters in the
all
alphabet.
good. So,
Yeah.
so whatever worked out. Those are the guys that were trying to. Let's just use guys and girls for a second. The
Mhm.
guy was trying to impress the girl, so he would give money during the event. And I watched it. I followed them. I was so enamored by how now, there could be other reasons. I don't know. But what I saw was guys that were trying to hit on girls were the most giving during that period of time because they wanted to be that guy or that girl.
Smart idea to be doing that at a concert, because most people are on their first date. Yeah, the
Right.
pressure will work.
And you want to
That's a
impress
good
them.
psychological play right there.
That's right.
Way to
And
get
by the
those
way, I don't know if that
donations.
was the reason. I mean, the reason I did that or not. I just like to watch the whole. I love the
Yeah, we're
human
people
behavior side of it.
watchers.
Yeah.
Yes, we're people watchers. So again, instinctively, you're watching it, and there's a different air and persona that's put on, and the way it's being done. You'll know
Exactly.
if it's to impress.
That-
Even some people are just trying to impress their friends that I have it, so I'm doing this big donation, and again, found nonprofits and people who are collecting the money. They know who do it well. Like I need people who know how to do it well to work for my foundation because things like that is how you do it. They
Right.
just talk to the right people, they
Listen,
get in there and they benefit too.
something very simple. I apologize for interrupting, but something
No,
very
you're
simple came to
fine.
mind. Like I play a lot of golf, and I play in these charity golf tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
When I play in a charity golf tournament, and you've got 4 guys, let's say, and before you start, you can buy a mulligan. So you buy an extra shot in case you mess up on your shot. You can put out your little mulligan card, and let's say it's $100, and it all goes to the charity.
Mm.
If you're one of the 4 guys on there that didn't buy a mulligan, you are shamed, right? And I don't mean like
Not horribly,
we
but
probably rib each other about
they're
it.
looking down on you.
Yeah, a little bit. And then if you don't have it and you're on my team, I need you to have that mulligan. So my point is that these are the ways that we can raise money. Now, the
Yeah.
point for the nonprofit is that just give me the money so we can do good with the money, right? That's what the
Right.
nonprofit wants, right? So
Yeah.
however it gets there, whatever agenda they're under, whatever way that they do it, as long as they're taking that money and doing good with it, I'm all for it, right? Whatever way that looks, right? If you're going to sell me a mulligan, I'm going to buy the mulligan. You go off and you're going to do whatever you're going to do with for whatever charity that is. And I love that. So
Yeah.
my point is that, when I got into charity originally back in 2007, primarily, I was very idealistic about how the charitable organization, we're going to get our clients and they're going to get involved and we're going to do all that. None of that really came to fruition. Not
Mhm.
none of it. I over exaggerate that. Very little fruition in
Little
regards to
bit.
people getting involved and all that stuff. And it didn't
Mhm.
matter to me after time because once again, everyone has a reason to do what they do. And I'm not here to judge that. What I am
Mhm.
saying is that I just wanted the charity to get as much money as they possibly can so they can go do good with the money because that's what they do. So
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion.
Oh, well, and it all works out. You
It
know what
all
I'm
works
saying?
out.
Like, because someone says, okay, so for example, oh boy, but I'm going to say, if my charity 20 years ago had a $20 million from the famous Jeffrey Epstein, what do I know what Jeffrey's been doing
Right.
over there?
Right.
I don't know. And that was 20 years ago. But look how it turned out. I am not associated with him. Well, you benefited from his money. I benefited from his money, or we took his money and did it for the benefit of doing good for the society. Because for me, I'm not. And even if I did, even if I got a paycheck, how was I supposed to know? And that's my point about the thing about money. It's money doesn't have character. Humans do. And so what we do to get the money is frowned upon. What we do with the money can be frowned upon. Where what we do to get the money can be celebrated. What we do with the money can be celebrated. It's just I'm not going to attach it to I'm not so I'm like don't ask me if Jeffrey Epstein had given me money. I would have taken it. Yes, I would. I didn't know he was doing all that crazy stuff. If I knew and I did, then I would question my moral character. So I put that out there like money does not have a character. We do. That's I mean, I'd love to hear what you think about
No,
that because
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, listen, how many people forget the extremity of Jeffrey Epstein and the
yeah, of
horrible
course
things
it
he
went
did.
extreme, but
That's
it's
extreme. But
yes.
how many people that were wealthy or have been wealthy or still wealthy that have been convicted of insider trading
Yes.
or whatever, we're ubiquitous
Tax
crime that's
evasion.
out there. The
Yeah.
fact of the matter is that if he was giving money to a specific charity or she was giving money to a specific charity, and that charity was going off and doing good with that money and had no clue that they were doing that stuff on the other side of it, why would I put down the charity for accepting money that was given to us because that person on the other side of who that person was very
Yes.
right? So I don't know how you come back and blame the charity for not doing enough due diligence to see a crime that no one else saw was happening and somehow come back to them afterwards and go, well, how could you possibly do that? Right?
And
I
that's
just don't
happened a lot
playing
on
Monday
the
morning
internet.
quarterback it's impossible, in my opinion.
And let's face it, their character caught up with them.
Yeah,
But 2
100%.
things can be true at the same time. Someone can be philanthropic,
Hmm.
but also be all the other things that we don't that are
That's right.
just wrong and against humanity.
Right.
So for me, it's like we're always trying to find when it comes to money and philanthropy, we wanna pick a side. I'm like, "We don't know." I mean, do your due diligence, but you don't know what you don't know, and that's just how it is. Well, let me ask you this though: when does wealth shift from a personal success responsibility? When does that shift from personal success to actual responsibility? Like it's now something that you're
Hmm.
responsible for. It's not just oh, I'm successful, but now you're again, you got all this money now, so responsibility. And that's when I think people come into, well, what legacy am I leaving? Am I being purposeful with it? Am I giving to,
Well, that's
philanthropic things? Yeah. What does that look like? Because it's like, okay, I'm successful, but now I have responsibility that I didn't plan for.
the reality, in my opinion, and this is going to be probably controversial, is never. Never. And the reason I say that is because I don't, it's my money. I can do whatever the hell I want. I can burn it tomorrow and I
Yes.
can do whatever in the hell I want with that money. And, what's funny is that like a lot of conversation I've had with various people has been in regards to generational wealth.
Mm.
And the concept of generational wealth makes zero sense to me personally. All right. So,
Okay, so you are a disruptor. So first of all, let's establish that because the way your brain is going for me, why am I taking responsibility for generations? Just keep going, my brother,
all
because you're
right.
speaking the truth
So
today.
what I'm saying to you is that I, as the individual, have options, right? I made the money. I've saved the money. I didn't spend it the way I may have wanted to, whatever, right? However, I built my wealth, right? Now I can spend the rest of my days on this planet spending my money until it's all gone
Hmm.
because it's mine.
It's yours.
Or I can give it all to my kids. I can give it all to a charity, whatever that looks like.
To my
And my
dog, my
point to
cat.
you is that I
Just
have those
happen.
are my options, right?
Yes.
It's my money. Right? It's
Yes.
so at the end of the day, what responsibilities I have is to I built it, it's to my family, or maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not even my spouse. Maybe it's not my
Hmm.
kids, right? So, by the way, I have clients that go across this entire spectrum, and I've had the conversations with them. The
Mm.
misnomer is that all these people are saving this money and not doing this stuff and want to build it up for their kids. Most of the people I know, all they care about is that one lady in particular, and I love her to death. She said to me, she goes, "I've given my kids all the opportunities that I didn't have when I was a child. I paid for their school. They went to private schools. They went to college. They have no debt, which is an amazing feat.
Hmm.
Now it's my turn to spend on me." Right? It's now their turn to go and build it themselves, right?
Hmm.
So if there's money left over at the end of the day, because none of us know when we're going to die, right?
Right.
That at the end of the day, I can pass that over to my whatever's left to my kids, and if there's nothing left, it's on you.
Too bad. That's it. It
Right?
is that because you've already set them up.
You've already
And
set
I
them up.
guess that's what people I think it was not Jeff Bezos, the other guy,
Warren Buffett.
Bill Gates.
Oh, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. I think he was the one who said, "Hey, he's not giving his children none of the money he has."
Give it to
And
charity.
I'm like like, there was a big fit. Majority of people were like, "How could he?" Now, what do they need all that money for, first of all? They won't that's just gonna wreck him. That's my opinion. But again, it's his money. And,
Right?
like, for me, building wealth, I wanna make sure I don't have kids of my own, but my niece and nephew, that their education is solidified and that they're able to have opportunities to experience things that maybe I didn't. But handing them money, buying a car, making sure they're debt free, that's not my and have to live that's not anybody's responsibility. And I tell this to young people. You guys act like your parents have to let you live there. Yeah. They don't. They could give you up for adoption. They could drop you off in the foster care system. I'm telling you, even the breath you breathe is like really not yours. Just chill out. But my point is, like you said, it's not you don't have responsibility. Me personally, I'm philanthropic. I'm philanthropic selfishly. Let's be clear. I want to build schools because it makes me feel really, really good to see the smiles and the transformation in the lives of those communities that it's still about me. And people get that confused. It's like, "Oh, that's so kind." No, you're doing this all for yourself. So don't complain about it. And so for me, my millions, that's where my money will go into doing good for communities and having a widespread. But that's still again me. It doesn't say I have to do nothing for nobody else. And if I wanted to not do that tomorrow, I get to choose. Like I'm good. I did 10. Now I want to fly around the world on a private jet because that's what I want to do. Yes, that's me.
Let me give you an example. We did a number of years ago, we started adopting schools. And what that meant is that we would go into a school primarily in South Central LA, and we
Hmm.
would ask the teachers, the principal, what the teachers needed to help the students learn. Give us a wish list. So we're going through this. We're sitting down with the principals. They're showing me around the school. They're telling me, a lot of kids don't show up to school. And so they're not getting paid. And so there's a lack of funding for a lot of these schools, not because of the lack of funding at the state level, at least in the conversations I had, but more importantly, because kids are not showing up. So they don't get paid on that student showing up to class.
Mm.
But every single year, the 2 or 3 schools that we went to, it was about 25 grand a school. to give
Mm.
them all the stuff that they needed. Now, there was a lot of sharing, if someone needed an overhead projector or whatever. Every year came out to about 25,000 a school. I remember one year there was $1 million gift given to one school by some very famous people, and they did it
Mhm.
in combination. And I thought, what a waste. Not that school benefited completely, and I don't want to take anything away from them. They were the recipient for whatever reason.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
with $1 million, I could have taken care of 400 schools or 40 schools. I have to do the math on that. But I could have
Yes.
taken care of a lot more schools, 40 schools,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Versus taking care of one school. I could have
Right.
given teachers at 40 schools for the same amount of money, the same everything that they needed to teach. But in that situation, those celebrities decided to give it to that one school. And that bothered me to the core because it was so lazy. In my opinion, if they had just gone to talk to them about what is necessary.
Yes.
And so now you're benefiting not just, 500 kids or 400 kids, you're now benefiting 1,600
Thousands.
kids or
Yes.
thousands of
Yeah,
kids.
it
That's
could
exactly
yeah, it
right.
depends. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting hit in 40 schools, I
16,000.
mean, minimum they have at least 300, right? So
So that's
yeah,
12,000 kids
16,000.
if you could have done
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
12 to 16,000 depend.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in a prep campus earlier this week. They've got 1,200 plus kids on that campus. And I'm like, whoa. But they have both the division, they have the elementary and the high school. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stewardship I get grumpy about. And I see it every day in just with less money. But I'm like, even nonprofits,
Yeah.
even nonprofits, when they are doing funding patterns, I'm like, so you guys just bought a whole bunch of stationery that is not needed because you guys, if you don't, nonprofits, if you don't spend it in the fiscal year,
You
you
don't get it
lose.
the next year.
Now here you are stockpiling stationery when the computers suck for the clients. They need computers in that lab so that they can find what I'm like, make it make sense. But again, it doesn't have to. It makes too much sense to even think or talk to people and ask them, what do you need and how can I help you? But one thing I know is giving people stuff they don't need, it's excess and it goes to waste. Because I'm pretty sure the school, I don't know how they managed. I hope the teachers got a raise, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think you can do it on that level. But
They
but
can't.
the bottom line though is that it's those celebrities' money. It's not my money. I can
It's
judge it
fair.
all I want. I can play Monday morning quarterback going, this is what you could have done. And I think it's lazy. But the reality is it's not my it's not my money, right? So if this
Yeah.
is what they wanted to do and they wanted to give the money, that's on them. That's not on me. And I might agree with
I
it.
mean, again, a lot of people, like you said, there's those two ends that are more common, the tax write-off and, you know,
That's right.
whatever goes with it. We threw a word in the ring earlier, and I want to hear what your thoughts are. I didn't get your idea because I think I interrupted you.
That's
What
right.
does legacy actually mean in today's world? I mean, I am confused. I feel like there's so many different definitions, but
I think it's different for everybody.
yeah,
Everybody has a different want of legacy. A lot of, some people like to have their names put on buildings, and that's my legacy. Some people want to do good for communities, and that's my legacy. Some people, my legacy is my family and what my kids think of me, and are they talking to me, and all that stuff. So, legacy is, what's so funny is that I think we work for definitive definitions of all of this stuff. And what we forget is that we all look at things so differently from one another, right? Because that's what makes us human beings, right? We think differently, we have different perspectives, different experiences. And the reality is what's my legacy, right? It's my kids. Period. So, at the end of the day, I don't care about a name being on a building. I don't care about, getting into Forbes. I don't care about any of that stuff, to be honest.
yes, that just happens as icings on the cake. Yeah,
Exactly.
because of the work you're doing, it's coming with the. I said it's come with the
Right.
territory, but you didn't go seeking it. Yeah.
No. And so the rest of it is, I don't want any of that stuff personally. And I'm
Mhm.
kind of the behind the scenes guy anyway.
Mhm.
So, but for other people, it's completely different. And they want the splash and they want the bling and they want the whole thing, right? They want
Mhm.
all of that. And that's fine, right? It's just different ways of looking at this legacy concept.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely a personal thing. I feel like
For sure.
some people only think about it as financial. And so a lot of people, I've met people who are in their 60s, 70s, and they're saying, you know, I didn't do much with my life. And I'm looking at you like you raised three very industrious, honest, clean background walking adults.
Right.
I say
Right.
clean background worker because listen, you can keep your kid from getting pregnant too early, going to jail. You're already winning. I'm sorry, but that's fine. I mean,
True.
it's a shame that you have to say that, but God, it's so easy to get in some sort of trouble, right? And look at their lives, and you have grandkids, and then you were a school teacher
Right.
where you taught hundreds of kids along this thing called life. Honey, you have legacy. And I guess, and they're like, oh my God, you're so right. And I'm like, yeah, legacy is what everybody's going to leave a legacy. It's what that legacy is going to say. It's
Yeah, but
it.
it's those things that we promote, right? I mean, I can't. When I watch CNBC every day, they're the Elon Musk tracker to hit $1 trillion of wealth. What does that mean? What does that mean to me?
Can't even see
I
$1 trillion,
could
Jeff.
care
Yeah.
less about that stuff, right?
Come on
So
now.
good for him. If that's something that means something to him, and that's and money is his card, good for him. Right?
I
That's
don't
him.
think he even cares that much about trillions. The way he works, it couldn't be that that's what he cares about.
Is
He
he is
works
he
too hard.
happy? Is he a good human being? Is he successful in other things? Does he have good friendships and a family that wants to talk to him and hang out with him and all this
Does he
other stuff
spend
are all
time with
these
his
other signs of
family?
wealth that, scorecard, if we use what we keep getting promoted, which is how much money do you have in your bank account and what do you own and all that kind of stuff. For me, it is what it is. And I've seen
Who are
and been,
you? And what have you
we
done with the
listen,
time on earth?
we have billionaire clients, we have non-billionaire clients, we have very wealthy clients, we have some not so wealthy as far as financially. And I
Mhm.
will tell you that some of the happiest people have the least amount of money in my world. And
Mhm.
I say this often. I have 5 guys. I'm sorry. I have 8 guys I've known since I was 5 years old, and we're still friends.
Wow. Wow. That's legacy.
We go on a trip every year together.
Oh, I love that.
So I played at one of their houses on Sunday night. All that stuff. We still hang out together and still enjoy each other's company. All these 50 years later. My point is that for me means everything. Forget
Yes.
the hundreds and thousands of people I've met over the years, and some of them are wonderful people, wonderful people. But for me, those
Mm.
8 guys are everything. They're everything to me. So
Yes.
if I look at what I consider to be my family, right, besides my
Mm.
direct family, and my success is those relationships.
Mm.
Now, as I said, I have clients that have a lot of money and are miserable. I have people very little that are very happy financially.
Mhm.
So you tell me where in that you go from being, how can you be miserable with all this money and you can do whatever you want? You have no concerns in the world
Mhm.
versus the people that have a little bit of money and are happy and have good relationships and are functional and friendly and good human beings.
Mhm.
That's where you have to kind of judge people. Not judge people, but you have to kind of, if I'm going to look at a scorecard, it's got to be all those things together, not just the financial scorecard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we have a lot of public. I'm saying public because again, that's what we see a lot of because of like, why would those two break up? They were a perfect match. And like, because they're still humans. You're looking at two celebrities and you're acting as though when they get off stage, when they get from off the red carpet, off camera, off the fields, that these are not humans with the same human needs, the same human inadequacies that need to learn proper relationship skills,
Right.
just like the rest of us. You guys, again, I sometimes say we put too much pressure on those humans. And then at the same time, I'm like, this whole thing about the media just exaggerates everything. I'm like, okay, so did you hear they broke up? Okay. So did Betty and her husband, who was married for
No one's
50
talking
years
about that.
down the street. You know?
No, I look at the news or whatever, and everyone's like, the news is always. I don't really like watching traditional news, right? I don't watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox
Right.
or any of that stuff because I,
Neither do
I I'm
I.
tired of it, and it's always negative, and it's always
And they're
on one
fighting
side or the.
and
I could care less about any of
yeah,
that
it's
stuff
like, what aisle? I don't even know what aisle they're talking about.
because we never hear that. We hear about the kid that did something horrible or something horrible happened to him, but we're not talking about the other kid that got home safely and he's happy at home with his parents. We hear about the negative side because I don't know why, but as human beings, I think we
It's
gravitate towards
cells.
that.
Yeah, we do naturally, so yes,
But we don't
yeah.
want to hear
They
the
feed on that
happy story
psychology.
about, Joey's tooth came out today. Oh my God, it was amazing. And,
Right.
it's that kind of stuff that, you
Or
know,
this little boy just overcame
yeah,
cancer,
or
you
whatever.
know?
Yeah. So I just think that we focus so much on these the you know the money aspect and what we have deemed as being important. And for me, as I said to you before, I'm much more interested in knowing and spending my time
Character.
with the human beings that I want to spend time with.
Mhm. Mhm. That's what makes life rich. No one's ever
Exactly.
sat there and say, "Oh, man, I wish I bought that Lamborghini." Maybe they did if they were just working all the time and didn't spend their money, but I they always talk about more time. I mean, you see it all, you hear it about it, you see it in your own family, that loved one who was sick and dying, and you didn't even know they were dying, but they wanna call you. All of a sudden, they're like, I had an aunt who passed, and she didn't call me very often, and towards the end of her last few months, I didn't know she was dying, but she apparently knew, and she was calling me every week. Like, her first 5 calls, I was scared, and then finally I got used to it and didn't realize, this was gonna be the last one, but
Yeah.
that's how I wanna spend more time with people that I love and care about versus whatever you're gonna throw at me, except if you're gonna, in her case, a new liver, but that's never it. We're always looking back at life for meaning. It always comes from me. Meaning comes from the character and the choices you make, and track record is always there, right? And so that's why I'm like, there's some people who have money. You couldn't pay me to be in their company, not at all. Their character shines right through.
I was going to say that I had a friend that I was talking to one day while we were playing golf, and he said how he wasn't really close with his father. Okay.
Mhm.
And he's about my age, 50, 54. I think I think he's a couple years younger. And so we
Wow.
were talking, and he goes, I did some math, and I looked. That might be a little depressing, so I apologize. But he said, his dad's 75, and he goes, maybe my dad lives another 10 years. Let's say 20 years, and let's say I see my dad once a year. That
Hmm.
means there's 20 more times I'm going to see my dad,
Yep.
right? And either I'm going to make the decision to increase that, or
Mm.
I'm going to keep it at that. But I need to make sure that whatever needs to be said, whatever needs to be done, so that he knows and I know and we're good before it's the last time that I see him. That everything is as copacetic as it possibly can be. But when you do
Yes.
the math on a lot of those things, and we get wrapped up in our daily lives, and we don't say hello to someone that we want to say hello to, but we put it off till tomorrow, and then we get to do it tomorrow, and then years go by.
Mhm.
But the reality is that we only, at least in my world, I have a certain number of friends and family that I want to spend my time with. And
Yes.
those people, I need to make a focus on that, even though you get busy doing everything else in life in general. But
Mhm.
what I'm saying is that, and what I talk to people about is the idea of spending that time to
Yes.
reach out to those people or spend time. And I tell this to my friends too, that we
Yes.
can't, because we never know when that last day is, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I
anyway,
agree. It's like just a few days ago, I realized 2 weeks I mean, I spoke to my mom on the phone, we checked in, blah, 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 and, I was working and she called me. She actually sent me text message, she called me, she's like, "I don't know when not to call you or when
Mm,
to call you because of your schedule. I'm like, you
right.
call me whenever. That never changes. I said, I just went over and had a sleepover with my mom.
I love that.
I mean, I got there at 9 o'clock at night and we were up watching TV until 1:30 in the morning.
And it's a
And she
special
had
time.
yes. And but with spending time with her, I spend time with my niece, my nephew, and my sister. Because talking to them now granted, Richard, they live not even 10 miles down the road from me,
Okay.
but that's how life can get.
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's it. I gotta spend physical time with them." And I just got a shower, put on my pajamas, and got my bag with my laptop, and I was going to do so I was like, "I'm not even doing anything on this laptop. I'm just kicking back and watching TV, whatever my mom is watching or whatever is watching my mom," because usually she's falling asleep, but she ended up watching and that's it, because like you said, when we don't realize it I had an aunt that passed, and it just stirs emotion in me in 2008, and she was the person who did the cake for my wedding, and someone ticked her off, and she lashed out at the wedding in 2002, 6 years prior, and our relationship shifted because she was not supposed to be aggressive. No one even knew, but I took the words of what another person who wasn't even a family member said that was said and done. Cake was perfect and everything. Our relationship was sort of estranged, but my aunt passed and I didn't see her again because she lived in Guyana where I'm from. And I lived, and she's my grandfather's sister, was my
Mhm.
grand. They both passed. But my point is, I did not know. I was young then. And that's like, I had this awakening, Richard, about time. And I still live it today. And I see people bickering and biting with family members that they care very much about. And it was like they're letting time go. Oh no, if he don't say anything, I'm not gonna say it. She
Right.
don't do da, and I'm like, and then what? They pass away or you pass away, and then this whole thing is left unraveled, like gaping hole in your whole life, and then that's a choice. Don't That's a choice. You don't have to be in the same tangle with someone who's toxic. I'm gonna agree with that. It's something I speak about. But being at peace with yourself in regards to your relationship with them, that's on you. That's your responsibility, not theirs.
Now
Figure
listen,
it out.
yeah, to sum this up though, and not to get more, my dad died 25 years ago. He was I saw him on Friday night. Saturday, I went to go play golf. He went to go play golf someplace else. Saturday night, after dinner, I was sick, and so I decided not to go. And he was dancing with my mom and died. So one night he's taking care of my oldest son. The next day he's
Mm,
dead. He's gone. My point is that what you said earlier was exactly right. That is that we spend this time, and I know this is a kind of a depressing part of the conversation.
it's
But
not.
the reality is,
People need to hear it. Somebody's gonna break off
it's
chains
real.
on that one.
It's real. And this
Yeah,
is real life. So what happens is that for you and I, all of a sudden time becomes, oh no, right? I want to make sure that that doesn't happen again, right? And these
mhm,
are lessons that we've been taught, unfortunately,
the
of
hard way.
being in that place that I never ever want to be at again. Now, I wasn't in an argument with my dad. I got along with my dad. I talked to him every day. But when you're not like that, right? And you can allow this time to go by, and then it's too late. So
Right.
all I'm saying is that on a human being level, that just make sure that you're not having the story that you wanted to, but you didn't,
Didn't. Chasing money
right?
or
It's
quote
not
unquote
worth it.
success,
It's
it's
not
not
worth it.
worth it.
No,
Pause,
no.
pause, pause for the cause of your soul. Like your soul, I just made that up right there. Your
Right.
soul is going to thank you later if
100%.
you and I say it's not balance, it's harmony because balance is a little bit technical based on where you are in your life. But harmony is for me when all the parts of you are being poured into. The driven part, the maternal part, the paternal part, the part that is a daughter, the part that is a mother, the part that is being daughtered by a good friend. Those things will help create harmony in your life. And I have a thing, and just to wrap this segment up is I feel like more than anything as humans, we seek peace, not money, not success, peace. And once we have figured out what keeps us ticking, we earn income, we build wealth, we create legacy. To me, in my opinion, by default, looks different for different peoples. The numbers may look different, but that level of being satisfied and abundant fails. I haven't met anyone who could tell me different. Until they do, that's what I'm coming back to report.
No, for sure. And listen, to sum it up on my side is just that, we put so much emphasis on those types of things, and the emphasis should be on who we are as people and who we are as a character and who we are as human beings to one another, period. And I know that sounds idealistic and maybe what a corny, but the reality is that's the bottom line to me. Right. And so anyway,
I haven't found a theory that changes anything. All the good things that happen in the world is based on what you just said. Because the people prioritize that. You and I are here because we prioritize being good to humans and pouring good sense into the world. Let me ask you this: after all the things you have seen, journeyed, and I'm still thinking about your friends, your other 7 friends or 8 friends, because I watched this series called A Million Little Things. I don't know if you ever saw that. And the guys were the guys were, that's those families were so integrated. It was the most beautiful story about friends, and it was started now they weren't as young as you are guys were, I think it's just 5 of them, but the story follows them along and how they
oh, that's
met and
cool.
the families met. It's called Million Little Things on I
I'll have
think
to look
it's
at that.
Hulu, yeah, I think it's on Hulu, it's on Netflix, it's been around. It was on, NBC at first, and I think and I'm on my last series now, my last, season now.
I'll check
What
it
is
out.
success to you after everything that you've seen, done, and been a part of?
I think it's the legacy question. It's, for
I
success for me is being
knew you were gonna
I
say
try
that.
and be a good human being. You know what I mean? And listen,
Yeah.
a lot of it, we change as time goes on, right? I'm a very competitive person. I'm a very driven person. There's lots of competitive, driven people out there. But for me, over time, you start understanding what success really is. My kids being functional and being good people and being successful and my friendships and my wife and all of that stuff for me is what it's become. Now, a lot of that comes because, we've done pretty well with the business and those things give you some freedom in regards to that. But if you're
Mhm,
still making decisions, if we're making decisions based upon, I want to make as much money as I possibly can, and I don't care who I in the meantime, that's not a good person. You can make more money than me. You can do all this kind of stuff. I'm not doing that stuff. So
mhm,
for me, I want to keep my character. I want to keep,
mhm.
clients, they hire me for trust.
Yeah.
If I blow that trust, my entire reputation's gone. So,
Mhm,
especially in this little tiny community I live in, right? And really, this area of Beverly Hills, and I don't live out here, but this whole area out here where I work is a very small community. And so within
mhm,
that community, if you ruin that trust, everybody hears about it. So I have to maintain that. I have to maintain who I am.
mhm,
I was I met a rookie basketball player the first year he was drafted, became very well known. The
mhm,
first year I met him, one of the nicest kids you'll meet.
mm,
Sweet, from the South, sweetheart of a kid. By
mhm.
the 3rd year, he was such a prima donna. He was such someone I didn't want to be around, right?
Gosh.
Is that, and you went from being this, you had this wonderful interaction with him the first year. And then as
Yeah.
that money and that fame and those, everyone around him saying how wonderful he is and how amazing he is at the sport, his
Mhm.
human being, his character changed.
Yeah.
And these are all the tests that happen over time for people. If you be
Mhm.
successful like that, and I have met several of these guys that have been able to, primarily guys, because I don't have any
You
women
work in that
basketball players.
arena. Yeah, you work with women.
But
Yeah.
in the guys, right? I've met some wonderful people, that have had storied careers or
Mm-hmm.
created storied amount of albums and wonderful legacies for themselves as far as their work concerned, their creativity. Those people to be able to go through it all and maintain that character, that's
Mm-hmm.
impressive. Those that
Mm-hmm.
allow themselves to start believing all of these people around them and their character changes, that's another story for me. So
Man,
keeping your character, keeping who you are as a human being through success is more important than anything.
I agree with that, and that's success. That's success. Let me ask you a follow-up question to that. In this podcast, we say that your mindset is the key to your success. What's the mindset most people are missing? Is it scarcity versus stewardship, fear versus clarity, consumption versus creation? What are your thoughts on that?
So made sense. That didn't make sense, but several of those would fit. I think that the people I know that have been ultra successful financially, the one
Mhm.
thing that I noticed about most of them, and they're not scared of failure. They will throw it all on the line because they believe themselves or they believe in what they're doing, and they will go all in. Some fail, and then the ones that make it big. That's a big.
Mhm.
So having that mindset of that, not of there's nothing worse than having an idea and thinking that it will never happen
Mhm.
versus have an idea and then trying it out and seeing if it does happen. Now, if you're not
Wow.
that person that is willing to take that risk, I get that. That makes sense to me. But
Mhm.
if for those that have been, the Elon Musks of the world, let's stay on him for a second. Elon, one of the great things about Elon, even though there's other things that I could talk about,
Yeah.
but the
2
one the,
things
the one thing I do admire about him is that he dreams and then he creates. Now he's
Mhm.
failed many times, which people forget,
Over and over.
right?
Yes,
So
massively. I've studied that part of him too, yeah.
so I love that he's willing to do that.
Me too.
That's where I have to stop that one. But the reality is that I think a lot of people are so scared of that failure that they never try. And I think
Yes,
the crime is not to try.
I think so too. In terms of success and mindset, that
Sure.
it's not to try and then just getting in there and not giving it everything. You're
No.
already in there. What you got
Yeah.
to lose? You
Might as
show
well.
up, do the job. Yeah, go all out. Hey, it works. I said for me, it's always I've learned that in life I'm always in a win-win situation. I win or I learn, and when I learn, I create a win.
And listen, if you fail, which I believe that my
Yeah,
failures have taught
yeah.
me what not to do, right?
Yes.
So yeah, 100% are. But if you take those things as lessons, then the reality is that I can go back and, okay, I'm not going to do that again. That one hurt,
Mhm.
right? But I learn from that, right? If I don't, and I don't allow myself to get there, then I'll never know that, right? It's not
Exactly.
just success after success after success. It's a
Never.
bunch of
Like
failures,
like
success, a
success,
bunch of failures, success, right?
you're 180 and then you come back around for your products.
I will tell you something. So I built my practice meeting people around a poker table in Beverly Hills. That's
Wow.
how I built my practice. And by
Yeah.
the way, nothing was talked about business wise, nothing was talked about. There was nothing. It was just a bunch of human beings hanging out
Just
together,
hanging out and
playing
playing.
cards, and just spending time together. And we used to
Mhm.
have two tables of 20, there was 20 people there. No one really knew each other. We got to know each other over time. And it was a bunch of friends of mine, and they would bring people for everyone to meet. And that's how it worked. And so getting to know those people as human beings, and some relationships blossomed, some didn't. I would never have thought when I first did the first one that would have been as successful as it was for me. But the reality
But you
is that
tried
so
it.
if I didn't try, never would have happened. So
Yes.
by just now, I've done 50 other things that I'm like, I don't like that, right? Or I'm not good at that. That's another thing. Like if you put me in a room with 100 people, I'm not very good. You put me in a room with 10 people and I can mingle.
Yeah.
But like going to an event or a networking event or any of that stuff, I'm just not that guy. Yeah. So
I'm not into it either. Trust me. This is the thought of it makes me nervous, and people would be surprised at that.
no, and they say the same thing about me, right? Because I talk a lot, but I have friends that are wonderful at it.
What do they call it? Hobnobbing?
Hobnobbing, that's right.
Hobnobbing is
Yeah, that's
small
right.
talk, not
That's
my thing.
not my thing either. But some people are amazing at it.
Yes,
But you get me
they're
in a
my heroes.
you get me on a golf course with 3 other people that I don't know, and I can
I'm
talk
good.
their ear off. You get
Yeah.
me in a room with 10 people to play poker, and I can sit at that table and talk smack. I can play poker. We can talk economics if you want. Whatever you want to do at that table, I can participate, but not with 100 people. And you have to understand that about yourself. What you are good at. What now we can
Yes.
learn from that and try and get better at those things. I'm
Yes.
not really interested in it, but that would be growth, right? Uh,
Yeah, when you're in your 20s or 19 or
yeah,
something,
I'm
when
done
you're
with
our
it.
age,
I'm
you're
done,
like,
man.
"No, this is
Yeah.
not me, and I'm not trying to learn a new skill. Stay in my zone of genius."
Exactly, exactly, exactly. I'll stay in my lane.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's so powerful. That's good advice. My goodness, the mindset shifts. So tell us, Richard, who do you work with and what do you have going on? What's happening in your world right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we represent 37 families, and then we have an entertainment and music, sports practice.
Mhm.
Most of what we do is we spend a lot of time with our clients, and there's always issues that come up, or someone's doing something and we're involved. And, I was on the phone with somebody till about midnight on Monday night talking about a home that they wanted to purchase. And it just depends on the day, and that's what I love about my job. It's just I wake up in the morning and I get up
You
and
never
I'm
know what's
all
gonna
ready to
happen.
get going, and then a curveball comes in and I'm going off and I'm not going to work anymore. I'm going to Newport Beach, or which is 40 miles south of me all of a
Yeah.
sudden, right? So that's how my days are, and I love that spontaneity behind my days.
Mhm.
I'm not very much one to be structured every single day.
Yeah.
That's how this practice is always kind of rolled. It depends on where the wind takes me that day and what clients have going on and what they need.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yes. What's one big project you have coming up and what mindset is required for you to achieve it?
oh man, my biggest project coming up is I'm playing in a pro-am golf tournament in Pebble Beach, and I gotta get my swing down. My I gotta get this thing together. And that's the truth, by the way. But
Yeah.
the thing I will tell you is that we and I'm not going to get political in any way, by the way, but I will tell you that every single day I
Mhm.
am challenged to figure out the ramifications of what happened yesterday or last night
Mhm.
or this
Mhm.
morning. And so I have intellectually the last 15 months of my career have been the most challenging
Wow.
because I can't, trying to understand. I can have my opinion about what side I believe.
Mhm.
That reality is I have to deal with the implications for my job, right?
Yeah.
So if you take any of the policies or whatever the changes have been, primarily on the economic side, but if you take
Mhm.
those things, there's two sides to those arguments, right? I have to break down the two sides to that argument. Now, remember, I have my belief, but I still have to
Yeah.
look at the two sides. I have to critically think through both sides of that argument, because
Mhm.
the bottom line is that in my world, in economics, it's the most uncertain science that I know. There's too many variables. There's no exactness. There's a lot of estimates or guesstimates or
Yes.
educated, whatever. There's no certainty to any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, I said to someone the other day, I said, if you like Trump, right, President Trump, and you like him,
Mhm.
good for you.
Good for
And if
you.
you believe that, then I hope everything, and by the way, on both sides, I don't care on either side, I hope it works out
Yeah,
for
me
the
both.
best of the
Yeah,
United
me
States, right? And best of
yes.
us,
That's all that matters, right?
all that matters. Now, I can agree or disagree with that he does things or the things that his policy changes or whatever. But for me, I have to understand, and by looking at both sides of his argument, right?
Hmm.
He gives me his policy, then I have to break those down.
Yeah.
What if I disagree with it, but it turns out to be successful? I have to be okay with that, right? And I have to be right. And so we try and come up with this definitive opinion, like we know what the hell we're talking about. And the reality is that we don't know, right?
We don't have a clue.
Right, nobody does. So right, so we can say, like I was telling a friend of mine the other day that if we look at Venezuela, right, what we did invade in
Uh-huh.
Venezuela and took the
Uh-huh.
oil and did all this stuff, it could turn out beautifully.
Yeah, it
Or
could.
it can turn out like that was a disaster, right?
Huge
Those are the
disaster.
extremes of that argument.
Yes. And
And,
that's why I don't get attached to it.
right,
Did I like it? Did I agree with it at first? I'm like, "That's crazy." I'm like, but I'm not over here just running my mouth. I'm like, "But those people were happy about it."
right.
And my opinion is I don't know what I don't know. So what I do know is mindset mastery moments and the mindset and all that. So I'm gonna stay in my lane and trust because stuff always works out. I mean, they had World War One and Two, and here we are today with iPhones and Alexa and AI. I mean, it always works out.
Well, and hopefully that's true going forward, right? Maybe this
And
time is
again, that's
different,
my
right?
guesstimate based on
But
what
but I
works
think
out
but I
for
think
who though.
like in those situations, right? It's just we need to understand that there's so many different outcomes. And those
Mhm.
that are guessed it correctly at the beginning, or the pundit that's on television that's saying this is the way it's going to be, and it turns out that way, people are going to go, "Oh my God, that guy was brilliant," but he's been wrong 10 times before that, right? So and my point to what I do know, and the more that I know someone said this before, the more that I read, the more that I study things, the more I know I don't know anything. And so, as much as I try to be a little less ignorant every single day by reading a little bit more and learning a little bit more, the
Yes,
reality is that I read something and I'm like, "Holy crap! I had no idea. I had no idea that
exactly. You
that was
don't
even
know what you
possible."
don't know, and we don't know anything.
You
That's what
don't
I
know what you
say.
don't know, right? And so we live in that world of one, we want to understand. We think we've figured it out, and what we have to realize that no one knows. There's
No
so
one
many
knows.
things that can change.
That's why it's never beneficial. I never get people getting so angry at people they do know because they think someone else knows. And you don't even know the people. Like when I say like this is me and my best friend. But we're getting into political disagreements because you think both of us just think we know. And it's all stuff that people told us that they wanted us to think we know. And we're disagreeing to the point where what I know about you is that when my dad was sick, you were the only person that you were there for all my kids graduate. And these are things you've got proof of.
That's real stuff. This other stuff is nothing.
And I'm not going to do it. You're not going to drag me into any of this mess with anyone. Just live. I mean, I look at it and I'm like, "Whoa, you don't even
No,
know that person, but you
listen,
were
we've
mad
heard.
because of their political belief when you have one too, and none of this stuff, none of it is right or wrong. None of these are moral compasses. None of these people are the epitome of good character. None of these have saved the universe or just why? Just let
Right.
it be. There are people who are doing their quote unquote job. You have one to do. Focus on that. I'm saying do your due diligence of what you can change and maybe your vote helps. I don't know. I don't know what any of that stuff anymore. Whatever it floats your boat, but I do know what you get to do is get up and be the kind of person you are in the world. And that's it. That's what you're responsible for.
And that's the stuff we're in control of. The stuff that we're not
Mhm.
in control of is all the other ancillary stuff that we have an opinion about. We all have
Yep,
opinions.
it's your opinion and it's welcome, not worth breaking a fingernail or losing a hair, strand of hair
No,
off.
but it's also not, ruining a friendship for many, many years, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
I do think that, there has been this ongoing division amongst people because we'll see something on Instagram and, oh, that said that. And I study inflation and I study unemployment every
You
single month.
have to, right? And I hope they see that's another episode. Hope they see how those 2 go together.
Yeah. And when you look at what's being said on television by whomever, You look at what's being touted on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, whatever social media.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things are taking, not all of it, but a lot of that is taking bits and pieces or finding the bits and pieces that are gonna prove a theory or a
Buzzworthy.
hypothesis.
Yeah, of
The
hypothesis.
reality is that most things that I see, and listen, I go right to the source of the numbers, right? So I go
Yes,
to the
that's
Bureau of
where
Labor
we go.
Statistics.
We're going to the data. That's
Well,
the
and
news
the
we read.
debate I would have is this that, like, if you look at unemployment's based on 50 million people approximately that are surveyed
And the
through.
way they play, then that's my wheelhouse. The way they talk about unemployment is not the way not normal people. Employment and unemployment, like regular everyday people who don't look at those numbers and understand how it's calibrated, don't even you don't know what you're talking about. Just stay out of it.
That's
That's why
right.
I don't talk about. I'm loving having this conversation because you're looking at the data. Tell us about it. Maybe some people will learn
No,
something
no,
today.
I just said, when you're looking at the data, right?
Mhm.
First of all, you have to understand the data is not perfect. It's as perfect as we're going to get it, right?
Mhm.
As I said, there's something called the establishment survey. There's two surveys in this thing. Anyway, not to get too geeky on this, but the
Mhm.
establishment survey is based around 50 million people, about a third of the working force. So then what they do is they take that number and then they isolate that and put it across all 157 million people.
That's the
So based
percentage.
on that, it's what they call statistically significant.
Mhm.
So based on those numbers, they come now and they tell you, here's where the jobs, and you can see this every single month, and they give you all the data. All of it's
Mhm.
there.
Mm.
It can tell you where jobs are being created and where jobs are losing, and you can see it every single month. And you
Mhm.
would think that using that data would be able to solve all of the discrepancy amongst every argument that that we've had. And the reality is that no one believes, if you don't believe the number, you don't like the number, then you don't believe it. And if you don't believe it, then you're going to say, well, there's no other real source of this except for this guy that's on my station that told me that it was this. And so for me, I just bypass it all. I look at my numbers. It's not perfect, but it's as good as I'm going to get versus some guy that's telling me on some station, whatever ubiquitous
Whatever
station,
version of the
whatever
story
side.
he wants.
Right. So for me, I'm looking at the actual raw data. I'm
Mhm.
looking at it, for where are we creating jobs? How many people are employed? How many people are unemployed? If we look at, people will talk about manufacturing a lot. You'll say, oh, manufacturing, we're going to be bringing back all these jobs to the United States. Last year we didn't. But doesn't mean we're not going to do that in the future, but it hasn't happened
Exactly.
yet.
It hasn't happened yet, and
Right.
you can't argue with the data. It would tell
Exactly.
you,
Well,
right?
you can argue
And
with the
that's what
data. People like to do that.
I mean, of course, you can do what yeah, pretty much like you said, you can do whatever you want,
You can do whatever you
but
want.
that's the closest thing you're gonna have, and believe me, it's what the bottom line is, and like you said, even then, you're when you make plans for your future based on that data, it's an educated guess.
Right.
But don't
100%.
forget, the word guess is still behind educated. We only listen to the educated. We forget the guessing. And then we're like, well, I thought you said, for individuals who work in your field, it's like, but Richard, I thought you said. Well, based on the data and past experiences, this was the best decision we could have made. We did not make that decision with the data we have on today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen, when I pick a stock, I use 5 or 6 different valuation methods. We read research, we do a bunch of back end stuff. But we have 5 or 6, depending on the stock, we have 5 or 6 different valuation methods. And I always tell clients, maybe 60 or 70% accurate. But by
Mm,
using different valuation, it's each one's giving us an answer, and that answer is then telling us how close the other answer, the other predictions are in those
mhm.
valuation methods. Because there's variables. Whenever you value a stock, you're putting in variables to come up with your answer. Those variables
Yeah,
are guesses.
yeah.
Those are not, nothing is exact. And by the way, technology can change it all tomorrow. And so all those guesses that you are making today can be changed tomorrow because new technology comes along and throws it out the window. So when
Yeah.
we're trying to do the best we can, but it's still, and what people have to understand is if it was 100%, I would put every dime of every person's money in the one stock that I knew was 100% opportunity.
You won't
But
be
it's not,
diversified.
and it never is.
Exactly. I love it. And that, you know what? Everything you just said there about money is also what's true about life.
Right.
Everything you
100%.
just ate, we can put that side by side and see the same way rolls in life.
I agree.
It's
100%.
it never ends, the cycle. Oh my goodness. So Richard, tell us what's your favorite way for our listeners and viewers to connect with you and the work that you're doing in the world.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I want to reach out. I'm at Richard McWhorter. That's MCWHORTER on LinkedIn, or SRM Private Wealth, Sam Robert Mary Private Wealth. Or you can always just email us or go to our website at srmprivatewealth.com.
Oh my goodness, this conversation right here, this is what people avoid because it requires ownership. But here's the truth, man. You cannot build a life of impact with a mindset of avoidance. Wealth is not just about what you earn. It's about what you understand online and execute. And Richard, you have done such an amazing job helping us understand at least the surface level of it, because I know there's levels to this. Thank you so much for the light that you are in the world and just being so humble and kind and of good character and just good light, just great, brilliant light. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And Disruptors, you know all the information for Richard is in the links wherever you're listening and watching to this episode. Remember to keep mastering your mindset. Think, speak, do, become. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye now.